Welcome, CEO Wedding. We are Team61, comprised of Dalia Adams, Neera Majumdar, Kavita Malhotra, Renato Silvestri, and Ashley Wenger. We're here to present our project, which was to develop a customer analytics engine for the Brazilian online store Olist. I will talk about the introduction, give an overview, and develop the product statement and the solution. Kavita will go over the EDA and the data preparation. Dalia will go through the NLP and sentiment analysis, as well as Neera with the delivery models, and Ashley will talk about the insights delivery. And then I'll jump back in to wrap up and conclude the presentation. So 10 weeks ago, we began a journey which was to develop a e-commerce engine to help the Brazilian department store Olist. Our overall business objective was to strengthen each seller's relationship with Olist. As such, the best way that we felt to do this was to show them the money, and our customer analytics engine is designed to do just that. We've developed a platform that allows each seller to track their key performance metrics, as well as inform the key factors that influence customer satisfaction, such generating repeat business and increasing their bottom line. So in phase one of the project, we aligned the business goals, the project goals, with the business questions such as what are the characteristics of buyers and sellers, how can Olist better target and retain them, what improvements should be made, how do buyers feel about their transactions, and what sentiments are evoked. In phase two, we developed a management analytics system, and then in phase three, we refined and deployed our insights engine. The Brazilian e-commerce market presents a tremendous opportunity. I'll let our project team Avatar go through that in more detail.
E-commerce is currently worth $22.4 billion and will reach $34.5 billion by 2020. Today, the average online shopper spends $366.
It is projected to reach $392 by 2020. Currently, 61.1 million people shop online. This will reach 87.7 million by 2020. Clothing generates $7.5 billion.
It's expected to reach $12 billion by 2020. Social media like Facebook and WhatsApp are popular.
The average Brazilian spends 3.3 hours daily on social networks.
51% of Brazil's 113.7 million internet users spend all day online.
We hope you liked our insights into the Brazilian e-commerce market.
So that's a tremendous opportunity. Approximately US $15 billion in sales from online stores, and that's expected to increase to nearly $17 billion by the end of 2019. It's also a very competitive market. While Olist is the biggest player in the online store space, there's other competitors that are coming into the picture, both locally and internationally. One such player is Amazon, which actually reminds me of a joke about the two Brazilian monkeys that were busted by Amazon for sharing their account. They discovered that they were primates. Olist has a unique proposition in that when sellers register on their platform, they can sell their products in various marketplaces within their network. So this is a great place for Olist to be, and essentially the key thing for them is to increase the stickiness on their platform. To do that, they must provide an excellent experience to both online shoppers and sellers to keep them on that platform. We're going to look at the reviews by customers, which provides essential data for understanding these customer pain points so that we can advise them on what they can do to remediate or prevent some of these pain points from occurring. And then the next thing that our next goal would be to complement OLIS traditional marketing efforts with our insights engine. The traditional brand funnel, marketing funnel, consists of the awareness, interest, consideration, and purchase. And what we're hoping to do with our insights engine is to flip this funnel. And essentially, once they've gone through the purchase process, we're able to identify the different buyer profiles, the different transaction profiles, and then OLIS and its sellers can develop personalized campaigns for them. They can activate different marketing campaigns, go after dissatisfied customers, and so forth. And then the final aspect would be to disseminate and empower the key stakeholders within OLIS as well as sellers by giving this information that they can act on. To do this, our analytics work for OLIS is concentrated in two areas. The first one being to analyze the reviews for sentiment scores, topic clustering, review scores to inform the overall satisfaction of a customer. And the second component would be to analyze delivery for early warning predictions of late delivery, improved predictions of the estimated delivery date, and also informing the geographic, firmographic, and other factors driving delivery performance. So these are the different models that we're working on, that we worked on to solve OLIS problem. So the solution is the solution for our insights engine is to address four key components. OLIS gains when its sellers gain. So that's why our solution is geared specifically towards the sellers. The insights engine is going to focus on these four areas that include customer profiling, which is the location of buyers, types of products purchased, the amount spent. Then the next thing would be the logistics and distribution, which involves the breakdown by late versus early orders, delivery performance, shipping details, and order status. Satisfaction and loyalty includes the review rating scores, sentiment analysis, topic clusters, as well as the most prominent words describing the transactions. And then finally, the fourth component would be the financials, which relates to price, payment value, freight value, etc. Basically, what customers pay when they make a transaction on the OLIS platform. So our analytics framework breaks out into three phases. The first one, and I'll just go over this at a high level because other members of the team will delve into each one of these in more detail. So in phase one, we explored the data to understand the types and transformations that are needed for the data, so that essentially we could decide what models we could build. In phase two, we looked at the initial findings from phase one and aligned that with the business goals. Our ultimate goal was to understand what drove loyalty, and to do that, we looked at uncovering the emotional drivers, and the components of that would be the sentiment analysis of customer reviews, the topics analysis of reviews, to understand key themes as well as different segments that for which these themes resonated. And the second aspect of phase two would be to look at the more rational drivers, and to do that, we looked at predictive models such as we developed predictive models such as the logistic, naive Bayes, linear, ridge, lasso, elastic net, gradient boost, decision tree, and the random forest, which we'll go over in more detail in the subsequent sections in this presentation. In phase three, our focus was to adjust, refine, and deploy towards the desired situation, essentially to build our models and to deploy it in such a way through a mobile app and creative dashboard visualization, so it's easy for both OLIS stakeholders as well as sellers to access this information in a timely manner, so that they can act on it and further enhance their customer loyalty and for the use of the platform. So now we'll talk about Kavita will talk about the EDA and the data prep that we did in the analysis.
Thank you, Renato. So starting with the data and the data preparation, for this particular project, the data we used is from the kaggle.com. It is a publicly available data set. The data set has more than 100,000 records, order records between the year 2016 and 2018. And the data provides us the 360-degree view of the oldest marketplace, starting from the customer placing the order, then number of items per order, payment method used, seller distribution, delivery, delivery timing, delivery status, reviews, comments. So it is like very enriched data set that we'll be working with and looking into it. The data is a star schema, and it has 49 variables and available in 8 different comma-separated files. The data has multiple duplicate variables because of the star schema setup and the primary key, foreign key functionality. So what we did is, for this particular data set, we came down to 26 variables. We selected these 26 variables, and we'll be using it for further study. And we also did some feature engineering, included 3 new variables, which give us more details into the delivery, the turnaround time estimated versus the actual, the status based on the delivery time, to understand the delivery system and how things are. Also, this data contains 96,000 approximately unique customers, but the order information is for 115,000 orders, which led us to believe that there are returning customers, which is indeed true. There are approximately 12,000 returning customers, and this is a opportunity I see, because in 2 years only 12,000 returning customers, so we might do something in this area to encourage more customers toward our site. For the exploratory data analysis, once the data was prepared, we did a lot of analysis on the same, and here we are presenting the key insights. So first is the price distribution. Looking at the price distribution, we can see that it is highly skewed with mean value of 173, standard deviation of 251, which is quite high. And also the data is highly skewed, it's like right skewed. The reason being there are a lot of outliers ranging between 5,000 price value to 13,000 price value. And then looking at the sales by payment type, we can see that the most favored mode of payment is credit card, followed by Boleto. Boleto is an invoice, and which is not surprising, because we all use credit card most of the time as we have it saved on the e-commerce site. And then when we further have a thorough look at the box plot of the price distribution, we can see that the median is not varying much between the payment types, though there are a lot of outliers, especially in the credit card and the voucher section. The next thing we did was we wanted to understand the geography from where the customers and sellers are coming. And looking at the geospatial data and the map, we can see that the customer concentration is more in Sao Paulo area, followed by Brana. And this comprises the southeast and south region of Brazil. And also we can see here that the northeast and north region are the emerging market. But when we look at the seller distribution, we can see here that most of the sellers are based out in the south and southeast region, probably the Sao Paulo area, which there are the high price value which need to be studied, and there is an opportunity to encourage sellers from the region wherein the emerging markets are. Next, we look at the time series for the revenue and sales. Here we can look at the revenue over year chart, shows us a very pretty nice positive trend year over year, starting from 2016 to 2018. That's a lot of jump there. And then coming at the monthly revenue, we can see there is a lot of variation in the data, and the max sales are in the month of November, which is not very surprising, it being a holiday season. Next, we look at the time series for the revenue and sales. looking at the revenue over year graph, we can see that there is a good positive trend going on here, especially when we compare it from 2016 to 2018. We might need to look at the data too, what data we have for the 2016 versus the 2018 and 17 to get a better grasp of what's going on in there. For the monthly revenue, we can see that the highest sales are in the month of November, which is not very surprising, it being the holiday season. And then we further did the monthly revenue by product categories, the top 10 product categories we selected, and the most purchases are from the bed and bath category, which is followed by the watch and gift. And if you look at the November distribution, you can see that the sale for the category watches and gifts has increased as compared to the other months. So this is the key insight in the EDA, and then we looked at the delivery and revenue distribution too. So looking at the delivery and revenue, we can see here that the oh no, sorry guys, next we'll be looking at the delivery and review distribution, having a high view at the delivery and review distribution. We can see that the review scores are dependent highly on the delivery status. If the delivery is early, then the review scores are good. And further, we can also see in the review score distribution chart that better the review score, more sales. And the same can be evident from the review score distribution by delivery status too, that the 75% of the 5 review score is coming from the early delivery status. So after this EDA, we were pretty sure that delivery and review is something that we might need to look into more details. Which brings us to our next session, NLP and sentiment analysis. And I would like to invite Dalia to present us the same.
Thanks, Kavita. So the first thing that we did in our NLP was sentiment analysis. The intention was to take all of the review data that we had, those free text fields and review scores, and turn them into actionable intelligence. So what was the point of doing sentiment analysis? Well, first, it allows us to identify positive and negative experiences early. By identifying them early, we're able to route negative issues through the proper channels to ensure that those negative issues are resolved in a timely manner. The other benefit that we see is that sentiment analysis can be used outside of reviews. Once the model is trained, as it is now, it can be used for social media analysis, for issue queues, or any other area where free text is captured and needs to be classified into a positive or negative bucket. So the first thing we did was some additional EDA. Kavita walked us through a lot of the EDA, but just a little bit was done extra prior to sentiment analysis. What we had to do was break down those reviews into their scores, and then from there put them into positive, negative, and neutral buckets. This allowed us to identify if there was a bias in our reviews. So what we noticed was that we had a positive bias. Most of our reviews are positive. While this is great for the company, in training our models, it creates a model that's biased towards predicting positive reviews. So by identifying this early, we're able to account for that as we built our model. The next step was pre-processing. So we have our data, and the first step in pre-processing is to segment this data, as we just said. The second step is to remove any reviews that have a score but no text. These aren't technically reviews, and without any free text, there's nothing to review. The third step is to remove any stop words. Stop words are filler words that we don't want a sentiment assigned to because they don't have a sentiment in and of themselves. Filler words such as to, the, for, of that nature. The final step is to format all of our data so that the pipeline is fully functional and can be utilized anywhere that we need it. So how did we do? So what you'll see on the left is our confusion matrix. You'll see the true negatives, the results that were negative that we predicted were negative in the top left, and the results that were positive that we predicted to be positive in the bottom right. And you can see that we were extremely accurate, which is enhanced by the model performance on the right side, which shows that we had a 92% accuracy, which was an amazing result from the sentiment analysis. So next, Neera is going to walk us through the next part of NLP that we did, topic modeling.
Thanks, Dahlia. So looking at topic modeling, a lot of insights can be captured from textual reviews, and one of our focuses for this effort was understanding what O-list customers were saying when they take the time to leave a review. Along with sentiment analysis that Dahlia just went over, topic modeling can show deeper level insights by developing topic themes around what customers are saying the most. Looking at the reviews from about 100,000 customers, all of them provided a rating between 1 and 5, which was used in the sentiment analysis that Dahlia just shared. However, only 50% of the customers took the time to write a review. Why only half? Well, our thoughts around that is that those who decided to go online after receiving their product to write a review ranged between extreme, those that were very satisfied, and those that were very dissatisfied with either the product or the delivery time. Our analysis found that the most prominent topics were around positive terms, such as quality, timing, delivery arrival, recommendations, and expressing how much they love the product. And these were translated from Portuguese to English for us to get a better insight. Although understanding topic trends among reviews can provide lots of insight, a value add that we thought was beneficial was utilizing our decision analytics platform by running the words found in each topic model to understand if it has a positive or negative sentiment. This enhances the understanding of the emotional attachment a customer may have with the company. As you can see here, there's a small percentage of negative sentiments in red, where the sea of green shows positivity among O-list customers. And now moving on to delivery models. A couple of things that we looked at was delivery models of fulfillment time, predicting the delivery time. A common word that we found in the natural language processing analysis that we did was delivery. That word was written a lot in a lot of the customer reviews. And if an order takes longer to be delivered, it often will drive a negative review. So we took a deeper dive into the data to understand delivery dynamics with the goal of equipping O-list with a predictive tool that would allow you to better predict fulfillment duration and or give early warning when an order might be late. The added benefit here would be allowing you or the seller to take a preemptive or remedial action as necessary. So for this data, we used several machine learning algorithms from linear to ridge, lasso, elastic net, decision tree, gradient boosting, and random forest. As you will see in the next slide, that random forest actually performed the best, provided better accuracy results, which showing the days from fulfillment duration was down to 7.7 days, whereas the current model that O-list uses for tracking delivery is 15.5 days. So that's a huge accomplishment with this model. And there are several factors driving delivery time, and the few that we found were the correlations between delivery time and days remaining from the product to be shipped, the freight that was paid, which was calculating the total price that the customer paid and the total freight that was paid for shipping, as well as looking at the correlation between purchase year and month when they bought the product versus when it was delivered in the month and year, comparing those two correlations. Now I'll hand it back over to Dahlia to do the second part of the delivery model.
So as Neera walked us through our predictions for when an item would be delivered, we found a an opportunity to predict when deliveries would be late. So as a package is on its delivery route, there's additional information that's gleaned through this process that we identified provided us additional support in identifying when an item would be delivered late. So the benefit of this is that it allows us as a company to provide our sellers insights that a possible delay might exist. This gives them the time to address this issue either through expediting those packages or attempting to counteract negative sentiment from late deliveries by providing a coupon to those buyers. Another benefit that we see on our side is that it allows us to test a theory that providing these coupons could decrease negative sentiment, which we've seen is so strongly correlated with those delays in receipt of packages. So how did we do? As you can see, we are extremely good at predicting on-time packages. That's identified in the top left of this confusion matrix. And one of the areas that our model struggles a little bit is packages that are actually on time that we predicted as late. Now, while that number is relatively high, one of the benefits we see here is that for extreme outliers, the model is still extremely valuable. And as we work towards better models, we do still see benefits to providing sellers the opportunity to address packages that will be late outside of a realm that is generally accepted or seen. So now I'm going to hand it over to Ashley, who's going to walk us through the mobile apps and dashboards that were built to support this project.
Thanks, Dahlia, and welcome, Don, to the app that we developed for OList. The app is intended to be distributed to OList's customers who are selling on the e-commerce platform, and it provides them with three main areas of analysis and insight. First, financial KPI is important to anyone doing commerce, sales over time, sales categorized by various different grouping factors, trends, mapping, etc. Secondly, we developed a suite of visualizations and analyses that pertain to customer satisfaction, including review scores and NPS trend analysis, some word clouds and topic clustering that we developed from our NLP analyses, as well as some other analyses regarding the impact of various factors on customer satisfaction. And lastly, a section related to their delivery performance, how they're doing with deliveries that are in progress, as well as some retrospective analyses on the factors that drive good performance and the trends of it. So let's start briefly in financial KPIs. I won't spend a lot of time on these because we'll see examples of the visualizations later. And this is not quite as relevant to our modeling work, but it's certainly a high value add for the seller to have this kind of information at their fingertips while on the go. I'll use the map to illustrate some of the functionality that we've tried to deliver, though, with a very interactive experience with a lot of filtering, a lot of ability to dig into the analysis. So for example, you'll often see a number of filters. Here you'll see an example of how we use tooltips extensively to try to present a lot of information about the orders and also to let them drill down into deeper and deeper levels of analysis with links such as this one. So we've gone from seeing their orders grouped by customer state with the size of the bubble indicating the volume of orders and the color indicating the average revenue per order to now a more detailed analysis at the postcode level. And we can continue to drill down an additional layer into even the individual orders in that particular postcode. And here at this point, we are limited by the precision of the data that's provided to us in the data set. And all of the orders are grouped at the same location, so they fall in one single spot, but given precise enough latitude and longitude information, they would be located precisely on the map. So let's jump into the customer satisfaction section where we spend a lot of our modeling work. The first view that we're going to look at here is an analysis of the orders by review score, and we're looking at the distribution of orders that are rated a 1 by the reviewer, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and that's indicated by the bar, which is mapped to the left axis. And then for comparison, the overall portfolio average for O list of all the sellers is indicated by this horizontal line. So the seller can understand their performance relative to their peers and see, for example, the seller that I've logged in as is trailing the average on the number of 5s that it receives, and sadly a little ahead on the number of 1s and 2s that it receives. And as I mentioned, we provided a host of filters on most of our analyses, and the graphs, of course, update to allow them to analyze on the fly and understand how all of these different factors drive their performance. And again, we've made extensive use of tooltips in order to provide additional information, in this case, the volume of orders, as well as the precise amounts of the visualized aspects. Secondly, we always like to look at things as a trend over time to understand how the performance is ebbing or flowing. Here we're looking at a couple different metrics that speak to customer satisfaction. The default metric that we're looking at right now is the Net Promoter Score, which takes the number of promoters of the brand, those who are giving it a high score, and subtracts the number of detractors, those who are giving a low score, and ignores the silent majority in the middle. But it can also be tweaked on the fly to look at the average review score if that's your metric of interest. And to assist in understanding different drivers of performance, we've made a drop down for those, and you can see, for example, if we dig into the data by is it on time to the customer or late, you can see dramatic differences are revealed between those orders that were delivered late and those orders that were delivered on time. Vastly significant Net Promoter Score for those different segments of business, and we can continue to do that with a number of other segments provided here. The next section of analysis was driven by our review with NLP of the customer verbatims, and so we've customized the word cloud analysis to the individual sellers and provided them with the output here so that each seller can see the topics that are most important to their customers and most prominently mentioned in their reviews for them in their own personalized word cloud, as well as a deep dive into the topics that are most relevant to their customers. So here we've extracted the top 10 topics for this particular seller, and those are further detailed by the keywords that were most relevant to the customers for that topic, and bar indicating the importance of those words in that topic. As we saw previously, the delivery performance is an essential driver of customer satisfaction. So we did some analysis about the impact of delayed delivery on the performance and how that affects the average rating. What you can see here is a lot of detail about the orders, and then an executive summary that's here in this ribbon that's mapped to the right-hand axis. So in the detail section, we've taken the orders and we've binned them by the delivery day. So the gap between when the order was actually delivered and when it was promised in the initial projected delivery date. And on the left, we have the orders that were delivered very early, and on the right, we have the orders that were delivered very late. And then we further subdivided that by the orders in that time bucket that were scored a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1, etc. So here we are looking at the orders that were about 2 weeks early and that scored a 5, and there were happily a good number of those orders. And here are those orders in that same time bin that were scored a 4, etc. And we see here that this is a happy normal shape, but it does have a pretty significant spread, and we have a lot of orders that are delivered even a substantial amount late. And so we've aggregated that in this ribbon that's, again, mapped to the right axis. The width of the ribbon indicates the number of orders, and the color and the location indicate the average score that was provided. So you can see that as the orders get delivered later and later and later, the score is dropping. Happily, that's a thin tail of orders, but this is still problematic and definitely illustrates the importance of late delivery and indicates to them how important it is to look into that aspect in order to improve customer satisfaction. And finally, we provided them with a tree map that helps understand the importance of various factors in driving customer satisfaction, both the volume that's attributable to that group as well as the intensity of it. So you'll see here that we've divided their portfolio up by state or by number of items in the order or a number of other different factors, and the number of orders in that particular group or segment or subdivision is indicated by the size of this area, and the in this case the review score is indicated by the intensity of the color. So you can see that Sao Paulo, their biggest customer state, is about at the about where they'd like to be, or borderline on customer delivery, whereas other states are also pretty material in size and struggling a bit more in performance. So by looking for the areas of intense coloring, especially with a lot of volume attached to it, they can dig into their portfolio and understand the particular segments that are most problematic, most in need of investigation. And again, to help promote interactivity, we've given them the ability to modify the graph and look at other dimensions and see how the performance is along those dimensions. So for example, if we look at the performance by in-state or out-of-state, we often see a difference in delivery performance. It doesn't seem to be quite as dramatic in the customer satisfaction aspect. Certainly if we look at the on-time versus late deliveries, there's a dramatic difference in the average review of those customers, as we saw before. And our third section deals with deliveries. The first piece here is a in-progress monitoring tool that lets them see the orders that happened in a recent window, say the last 2 weeks of activity, and check their status as at the end of that window or a week later, something like that, to monitor the flow of orders that are in the pipeline right now. You can see a summary section at the top that categorizes the orders into different statuses and talks about how many orders are in that status, and then a detail section that allows you to drill down and say, wow, I need to dig into these orders. They are with the carrier, they're not yet with the customer, and they were delivered later than planned to the carrier, so they're at high risk of being late to the customer. Is there a way that we can mitigate this situation? Can we expedite the order? Can we reach out to the customer and at least let them know what the status is? In some ways try to rectify this before it becomes a problem. As well as just see monitoring details of other orders that are flowing through the system in a normal fashion. Maybe aren't a problem, but understand the volume of orders in each of those categories. And then for retrospective analysis, to understand pain points and areas that may need to be improved logistically or procedurally, we have a couple different analyses. First, a tree map that again indicates the importance of a state or some other segment of business, as well as the success of that in getting those orders to the customer on time. Here we can see that Sao Paulo is doing fairly well on delivery. Minas Gerais is doing all right. Rio de Janeiro, however, and BA, their third and fourth largest customer states, are material in size and performing really poorly on delivery. Rio de Janeiro in particular has almost no orders delivered late to the carrier, but yet almost 12% of the orders delivered late to the end customer. So that's certainly an area that they would want to look at and try to dig into. And again, they can interact with this graph and dig into their portfolio by analyzing different categories that may need some attention. Perhaps their suppliers in this segment are not as on their game as there should be, so they might want to reach out to their suppliers in the audio category and try to improve that area of their business. And finally, we have some trends over time analysis on how likely orders are to be late. Here we're looking at the percent of orders that are late overall, and then they can continue to dig into this with the drop down that lets them split by these various factors. So we can see often the out-of-state orders are late more often than the in-state orders, and here we can click on these individual data points and get tooltips which give us the volume of orders and particular details related to that data point. So that concludes the features that we developed in the mobile app. Again, this is intended for OList to deliver to its end customers, so each one of those can log in and see the individual details for their performance. Now let me pause and switch over to our dashboarding solution that offers a little more functionality to the sellers as well as to OList itself. As you hopefully can tell, we spent much of the time on Insight Delivery in developing our mobile app platform because that's such an important form factor. And just as an aside, that is ready for deployment immediately on an Android platform and can be quickly deployed to iOS as well, simply by compiling the same source code on a Mac device. But we did want to also offer to OList and its sellers the ability to access information on a traditional desktop platform. So those same graphics are available via traditional desktop dashboard. And I won't spend a lot of time going through the last three of these different visualizations because they are things that we've seen already in the form factor, the mobile form factor format already. But understand that those are available to OList sellers to access their information here on the traditional desktop. Here's just a couple of the visualizations from the financials KPI section that we didn't touch on in the previous mobile app demo, as well as all the rest of the ones that we did. But what we wanted to also deliver to add value for OList was a dashboard that is targeted to them as a manager of a whole host of sellers. And it's important for them to understand which of their sellers are underperforming in terms of delivery or customer satisfaction and negatively impacting the OList brand. So what we've provided OList is a dashboard that overviews their sellers, ranking them by a metric that they select, whether that's percent late or average review score or financial metrics. They can dig into their sellers and understand how their sellers are doing, both via the tabular format as well as this tree map here. And we also have some overview graphing of their top 20 sellers as a trend over time. So obviously a lot more that we could do here given time and interest with the greater form factor, but I just wanted to give you a small taste of what's available to OList and its sellers in the traditional desktop format. So with that, I'll hand it back to Renato to summarize our findings and conclude our presentation.
Thank you, Ashley. So to conclude the presentation, basically what this means for OList is that by arming their sellers with the relevant information in terms of sales performance, buyer sentiment, buyer profiling, buyer satisfaction, operations, and distribution, we're enabling them with the information that they need to take timely action to preserve these relationships with their buyers. It's a win-win situation for both the seller and for OList, and ultimately it means improved bottom line for OList, and that it also gives them the opportunity to go out and reach new customers with these features and different offerings that they provide based on the analytics engine that we've developed for them. So this was a successful project for OList in the Brazilian market. The e-commerce world is growing. It's currently a 3.5 trillion industry. There's rapid growth in Asia Pacific, Latin America, and Middle East. One famous explorer, Christopher Columbus, once said that one does not discover new lands without consenting to lose sight of the shore. We completely agree. We believe that what we did for OList can be replicated in other markets by providing localized analytics, technological innovation, timely utilization and delivery. With our expertise and experience, we can deploy our process and our model to other markets through Project Latitude. This concludes our presentation. From Team 61, we thank you.